David Shestokas, who ran for lieutenant governor, has been a frequent contributor here, or lieutenant governor, state's attorney. I think I said lieutenant governor before. I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to put you into a race for lieutenant governor, state's attorney.
That was Stephanie Trussell there.
Yeah, and I that was Stephanie Trussell, and now I'm saying even state's attorney, and that's attorney general office, the attorney general's office. I get so confused between district attorney, state's attorney, U.S. attorney. It gets it's a little disconcerting at times, but
we live in a litigious society, David.
What's that?
We live in a litigious society.
We do live in a litigious society. That's why we've got too many ways of defining what it is for someone who's going to go into a courtroom and represent you. But David's been doing that often, many times. Currently, he finds himself in a case in Will County with a race that took place there. I know that he's got a Second Amendment case going on. He has been fighting on behalf of you and me and the rest of Illinoisans in this Amendment 1 case. So one case at a time, because we still are going to try to keep David here through the rest of the DPB show, because there are so many things he needs to bring us up to speed on. But this Will County case, and you started kind of defining a little bit of what was happening there before we went to break.
Happening, as I mentioned, and I'm not sure when we were on the air and off the air, so I just
pick up wherever you want.
Well, Gretchen Fritz was the Republican candidate, and Gretchen and her folks called me a couple of days after, probably about November 10th or 11th last year, a few days after the election, said, "Dave, this is just really odd. The opponent, Lawrence Staley Ferry, the Democrat who is also the incumbent Will County clerk, who, by the way, just as an aside, is in charge of running the election, was getting more votes in a precinct by precinct basis than J.B. Pritzker."
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I said, Gretchen, that's very strange. It's very odd. It's not impossible, but it's curious. And you mentioned at the beginning that I've been involved in things in Georgia and Pennsylvania and Arizona. As a result, there's some specialists in election matters that I've come into contact with that have become acquaintances, friends. And so one of whom is a fellow by the name of Ed Solomon. Ed is, I would describe him as a data savant.
Data savant. Yep.
We sent all the official certified Will County returns out to Edward. Edward called me back a few days later and said, "Dave, this is kind of curious. If you know the early vote and the mail-in ballots for Ms. Staley Ferry, and you divide Gretchen's election day vote into them, you can determine, say in this particular precinct, in the first precinct, you can determine what the rest of the 6 variables are." There's 6 variables because you have election day vote, you have early vote, and you have mail-in ballots times 2 candidates. There's 6 variables that go into making up the ultimate election numbers. And he said, you shouldn't be able to predict those. You shouldn't be able to know the rest of the variables when you only know half of them. And he said, that's curious, but it's not impossible in one precinct. He said, but once I discovered that in this one precinct, he said, then I tried that same formula, and as it turns out, it happened in the second precinct. And I tried it again. It happened in the third. And as it turns out, all 310 precincts within that election comport to this formulation.
Oh, wow.
Well, ultimately, Dave, once we had Mr. Solomon's analysis together, I also have another fellow by the name of that I'm well acquainted with by the name of Dr. Walter Doherty. Dr. Doherty is former professor at Texas A&M University and chairman of their statistics and mathematics department. And I sent the same information out to Dr. Doherty. Dr. Doherty came back with the same results and said ultimately this election was not decided by the voters. That this was impossible. This were the numbers, the way they put together, were utterly impossible. They cannot happen in a normal, free, and fair election. And so, as a result of that, with Gretchen, we went and filed what they call an election contest. and said said that this is we have proof, undeniable, unrebutted, mathematical statistical proof that this election was not decided by the voters. We did not ask to see ballots to do the recount. We did not ask to view the machines. Because frankly, we have no reason to believe that if we did that, the numbers that they would report would be any different. It's the official numbers that we saw that are reported to say this was not decided by the voters.
It was the data that was already reported. So you don't have to check the data. You're utilizing the data. You're saying, yes, based on the data that you put forth, this is statistically not likely.
More than not likely. It's like 1 chance in 10 to the minus 37th power or something like that.
Then it's called Illinois politics.
Yeah. So at any rate, we filed this. There was a motion to dismiss. They granted the motion to dismiss. We're gearing up for the appeals, and we've put together some things, including an argument that, in fact, the way it was dismissed was a denial of the First Amendment right to petition the government for redress of grievances. And along with that, they actually, part of when they were saying they're trying to dismiss the case, they said, well, you didn't ask for the ballots, you didn't ask for the machines, you didn't ask for this, you didn't even accuse the clerk of doing anything wrong. But you know what? Nothing in the law requires us to do any of that.
Yeah.
We're not required to ask for that. What we've shown is proof that this election was not decided by the voters.
Well, because you want to actually get to a decision. You don't want to draw the thing out for 25 years, which is what they want. They want you to look at the ballots. They want you to accuse the clerk. They want you, because this is the same thing that's happening in this Second Amendment issue here in the state, right? They're running interference on every level, whether it's be on the federal level or on the state level, in order to try to run this thing out for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, no, that's part of what they don't want to do is they don't want Mr. Solomon or Dr. Doherty in a courtroom.
No, that's right.
The best thing in the world they want is to have these guys in a courtroom because they don't have anybody whatsoever that can rebut the numbers.
Yep.
The numbers are solid. The numbers are the numbers, and the numbers say that this electoral outcome is impossible. And so they don't want these guys in a courtroom. They're doing everything they can to keep them out of court, including threatening me and Gretchen with $40,000 in sanctions and fees.